I already know you ready to go. What's up, y'all? We back again with another session and with another podcast with my boy, with my brother, and Emmanuel Williams. But I'm so excited to talk about this aspect. Like, I'm allow him to introduce himself and talk about himself and how he describes himself, his definition of himself. But before he does that, I'm gonna talk about how I met Emmanuel and the value that he offers in this universe. His universe, like we all universes, right? So I say from my universe to yours, and what he provided in my universe from his, some dope value, and I want to get into that. But I created this podcast selfishly for my children, for other black and brown, beautiful humans, highlighting hues. We've been de-emphasized, and to de-emphasize is to dehumanize, right? And I want to rehumanize to de-emphasize my people, my beautiful black and brown, beautiful humans. And I want my sons to hear the wisdom from this brother right here, Emmanuel Williams. He's an entrepreneur. He's a thought leader. And that's what this podcast is doing. It's highlighting black and brown entrepreneurs, artists, thought leaders, content creators. And a thought leader is a person that's an expert, a leader in their field. They didn't study, they didn't research, they experienced, and they created curriculum and everything for it. You're looking at a educated brother right here, a powerful, resilient dude. He comes to me as a stoic approach, but then you get closer and all of a sudden he's deep and it's very graceful and very graceful, empathetic the way he deliver his stuff, but straightforward and keep it 100. This is a long introduction, I know, but I'm just going off. But all that to say, I met Emmanuel Williams back, man, when I was like 8 years old at in church. In church, and how old were we? We was probably like 7, 8, 9.
Yes, around that time, definitely.
Around that, that's back in the day. But man, that's crazy how we just over the years, like we didn't go to the same school. We was in Portland together, right? I remember your dad taking us to In-N-Out Burger. That place came and went.
Not In-N-Out.
Well, not In-N-Out. I'm sorry, Hot Now.
Hot Now, them 39-cent cheeseburgers, 29-cent hamburgers, bro.
Man, that's back in the day. I was living right next to Popeyes. And man, this is back in the day in Portland days when it was Black Portland. And then 2 drive-bys happened. My dad from South Central LA. So was my mom, Jordan Down Projects. And they was like, no, we lived that life. So they moved somewhere else to some suburban white neighborhoods. And man, then all of a sudden, years went by, and he's doing his thing in ministry. I'm doing my thing. You rapping. Then years forward, I want to talk about his podcast. Just to fast forward, his podcast has added so much value in my life, my business, and connections to this day. The reason why I'm connected to the podcast guests that we have, other black podcast guests, is because of Emmanuel Williams' podcast. It's because he used his platform, the Sox and Sandals Podcast. He's letting everybody sharing their stories unapologetically, talking about religion, worldviews, perspectives. It just all collides. It has evolved. He got over 100, way over 160, right? What is it at, 170 or something?
Oh, man, 183, I want to say.
Dang, 183 episodes full of wisdom and knowledge. And it's because of his podcast that I met people like Devon. I heard his story, and his story intrigued me to do some things in my life and my family and connected with him on a business level. It was because his podcast why I connected to people, over and over again, So it's just beautiful to have you here. And I just want people to know who you are from your mouth. And I'll shut up and just hurry up and just let you say, hey, how would you define yourself? How would you describe Emmanuel Williams?
For sure, man. But before I do that, bro, I appreciate you for bringing me on. Like, first and foremost, this is a joy. This is a pleasure to do. So, appreciate you, bro.
Man, no doubt.
Yeah, bro. And I appreciate that synopsis, like the stoic approach, because I do have like a somewhat of a shell. I don't really just give off who I am up front. But like you said, like once that shell comes down and once we really get into conversation, I open up and let folks know what it is and who I am and what I'm about. So who I am, man, it's like I'm a father, I'm a husband, entrepreneur, like you said, thought leader, and essentially I'm a student. I'm a student of life. I'm a student of the world. I'm a strategist. I am so many words that are coming to my mind. I want to get it right.
Absolutely.
Man, I am a counter-racist. I am an equity practitioner. Like I do a lot, but essentially I am here to solve problems and finish the work, continue the work that has been started by my ancestors.
I love that.
And so everything that I do is predicated on solving problems for my people. And outside of that, like nothing else is that important outside of solving problems. And part of the problem is what you're talking about, like highlighting hues, highlighting the excellence, the everyday excellence that we have on our community that goes overlooked. And it's like, and the stories that people have, like you said, people's humanity is discounted. And one of the ways it's discounted is not allowing folks to express who they are holistically. You just kind of have to stick to your title, like, oh, I'm a doctor, so this is what I specialize in. Oh, I'm a marketing strategist, so let me give you marketing tools. Oh, I have a business that does X, Y, and Z, so let me tell you about my business. But I'm like, how did you become that person, and what is your motivation to take you to that place? Because I understand there's a lot that goes into who you are as an individual and taking your idea and turning it into a business or a nonprofit or whatever the case might be. So I'm just that person that wants to, share dope stuff with the world and put my people on display.
And I love that. And I'm glad you took your time to describe a lot of areas, because you are more than just. First of all, like I always say, you said a lot of dope stuff. First of all, I'll be more than that, just boom, boom, boom. But no, I'm glad. Yes, I'm glad you said everything about the things you involved with: entrepreneur, strategist, counter racist, all those things, solving problems, pretty much being that solution for your people, right? Highlighting untold stories. Man, you doing exactly, I believe, every human. If you ain't solving problems, this is what I heard you say. If you ain't solving problems, you ain't doing nothing, or it's not worth it. And I agree with that. I love that.
I mean, I don't want to be religious with it, like if it ain't about solving problems, like you just can't have fun or kick back. But, by and large.
Real quick, Emmanuel, you got feedback, not feedback, but a little static. I don't know if that, can you hear it?
Okay. No, I can't hear it.
Just keep going. You fine.
I do hear a delay, though.
From me?
You hear that? No, from me.
I don't hear it from you. You sound straight.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Just keep rolling.
For sure. But where was it? Oh yeah, so I don't want to say if you ain't about something, like for me personally, like you've been on the podcast multiple times, and you've been following the podcast, and you've kind of seen its evolution. And so at first I was just like, having those good conversations and just highlighting people. But a lot of it was like having conversations and tackling topics. And now it's like, I see the problem is like what I said, people need to be highlighted. People's stories need to be shown. And we also need to help folks understand that these people that are doing great things are no different than you whatsoever. Like, everybody is a regular person that is working hard and just choosing to be disciplined and go for what's in their heart. And so you can do it too.
Yeah.
And to me, like, that's a big problem that we have. Like, society, entertainment, academia is telling us we have to do A, B, C, D, E. No.
Mm-hmm.
You can do 1, 2, 3,
Mm-hmm.
4. Boom. That's it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can achieve what you want, and you don't have to have all these other people approve you to do what God has put in you.
Period.
It's already in you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to us to find out our why and understand, I'm doing this for this reason. I'm serving these people and I'm solving this problem. And regardless of who thinks it's a priority or not, it's a problem that needs to be solved. And I know it because it's been put in me. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do it, and we're going to do it together.
Oh, you added that together piece. That's fire at the end. Not just like back in the day, I know when we were young and militant, it was like you know what I mean? Now we grow together. We know it takes together and bringing people is because that's that legacy status. And I like how you're talking about you want to record the process and rehumanize the brand, rehumanize that entrepreneur, rehumanize that success story, and democratize the ability and the accessibility to be able to do that too as a regular degular. And I think that's fire. You know what I mean? And I think that's you a hope dealer without, you know what I mean? You didn't use those words, but you dealing hope. And I'm a young dude that was just sitting there. I was young, but my consciousness at an early age awoke before my peers. Be honest with you, I'm not trying to say that. I was just very observant and conscious aware. Even at 4.5 years old, that's why I witnessed some of the traumas that people's next to me don't remember, but I remember. And we all different blackout. But all that to say is that the hyper awareness of, damn, I forgot where I was going with that, man. There I go again.
Be like that. It's all
no,
good.
It's all good. But no, all that to say is that consciousness of being, I don't know, something that you sparked that said something. But anyway, keep going, keep rolling.
Of being like together, or
the process of rehumanizing people, rehumanizing story, making it accessible, and making it possible, showing that we need more representation. And I said, man, I want to do what, like what you saying. Using my gifts and my talent, like you using your gifts and your talent. Your gifts and your talent really helped me. Like, this is what I told Devon. I said, because of Emmanuel's podcast, I said, I heard of you and I heard your story. And your story of paying off debt made me and my wife pay off debt the way we did but circumstances is different. We found our sacrifice. But I really take it serious when I say you using, y'all, everything that he just said, he ain't just talking shit. Like, you doing it through your podcast of your exploration, your creativity and questions. And it really helped me out. Anyway, continue, Emmanuel. Keep going. My bad. I just be talking.
Nah, that's love, man. I mean, yeah, and it's amazing. Like, Devon, him and I, you know what it is. Like,
yeah.
We've been working together ever since in different forms and fashions, but still, like, on that same mission of showing people what's possible and sharing information. Like, I think people discount how valuable just a conversation can be. Like, for me, it's changed my life. The podcast has opened up new doors, allowed me to just get into new fields of doing nonprofit work, doing my equity work, as an equity trainer, something that I didn't necessarily, I didn't plan to get in, but like with me studying race and racism, what it is and how it works, and it's just creating a course organically just because of kind of the demand for it. Like around the time of George Floyd, everybody wanted to pick my brain because they know I've been talking about this stuff since 2017. And so literally I had coworkers from 5-10 years ago hit me up on Facebook Messenger, people texting me I ain't talked to in a minute, hit me up on social. So I had like 15-20 people to respond to in a week. And I'm like, I can't have all these 32 hour long conversations with all these people, even though I want to. So that's why I created my digital course, or my online course, I should say, Know Your Enemy, the Evolution of Racism. Because it's like, all right, everybody want to know what is going on, and I got answers. I know, the patterns of thought, speech, and action, emotional formation, and all of that. Like, I know that. And so I just had to put it in a form so that people could absorb it and allow it to change their lives and give it to them in a concentrated manner. So it took me 5 years to figure it out. I compacted it into 16 hours of content. So 8 weeks of 2 hours of going through it with various cohorts. And so
8 weeks.
Yeah.
And so it's a full 2 hours, but you split it up in 8 weeks.
No, it's 16 hours. So it's 8 2-hour sessions. Yeah.
Ooh, that's some deep stuff. And back to what you said, like the years, how long you positioned yourself. First of all, how long ago did you start this journey of research and studying about counter racism and stuff like that?
Yeah, probably 2014, 2015. Around the time of Mike Brown. When that was like, Mike Brown, Trayvon Martin, stuff was going viral,
Yeah.
And I just had a lot of questions. I'm like, wait, bro, we from the Pacific Northwest.
Exactly.
To be, growing up in Portland.
Exactly.
The whitest city in America. We understand racism.
Period.
To an extent. Like, because we feel it. We're surrounded by it. It's not as overt as the South, but the covert racism is actually kind of worse because you never know who's your friend. And so I was like, all right, I understand that racism exists, but why is it such a big deal? And why is it such a strong divider or connector of people, depending on what side of the racism coin you're on? You might be connected by your racism, or you are divided from other people because of racism. So I had to figure out what it is.
But in the midst of that, you was figuring that out. You was like in the midst of figuring that out, though. I feel like from the outside looking, it was a combination of religion too, and like
because I was heavily religious, as you know, and I was a super duper Christian. Like, not just I go to church on Sunday.
We were.
Yeah, bro. Like, we were in the army of the Lord. You know what I mean? So, like teaching, leading Bible studies, leading life groups, mentoring kids, and none of that stuff I would take back because that's a part of my life and part of my journey. And still, the impact and relationships that I have from that, last to this day and were very impactful for me and others. But it was just like the way that Christianity is given to us, the way that we've been socialized and kind of indoctrinated is that the Bible has all the answers. And at that time, I realized that it kind of didn't. I hope that it did, but I was realizing like, wait, so if we have the same spirit, regardless of race, we got the Holy Spirit, then we're connected, right? Like, we're brothers and sisters in Christ. So why can't we overcome? I understand how the world is all messed up and they're sinners and they're confused and they're lost. But as Christians, we should be able to connect. But then I've seen in the churches, like, you try to set up events and set up little stuff, and there was a lot of resistance. I'm like, why? And so I had to understand. And the more I understood the roots of, modern day Christianity and how that works, and how it was used, I was like, oh, okay. Okay. So it's not what it's cracked up to be.
Yeah.
But now that I know the origins of those stories and where they came from, like 3 years ago, I mean, like, yeah, the Bible is a whole bunch of lies. But now I understand, no, there's a lot of truth. It's just been remixed, and it's kind of confusing. So because it's been remixed and because it's been so confusing by design, only a few people understand, and those that cause the confusion are using that against the people. And so it's kind of wild. But yeah, it was a journey of unlearning and relearning, setting down my confirmation bias, and just allowing myself to take on the information, not with a religious view to it or a level of fanaticism where I had this rigid attachment to knowledge. Is just like, just take on the knowledge, understand, and see how it applies, and see how I can use it to solve problems. And if I can't solve a problem with this because there's this fanaticism built in, that I can't, like, if this only works if everybody else agrees, then all right. But if this works and even people don't even necessarily have to agree, it's just the truth and it's effective, then let's start using that so we can solve problems, bring people together, and just create more harmony and peace in the world.
I like that. And I like how you said you painted out your whole journey, and mixing that, the religious spiritual part, and how you refined your own definition of your spiritual that works for you, your spirituality, your way you connect. And one thing is that I love what you said, though. It goes back to what you said, how you describe yourself. You said you're a student. So if you're a student, you got this new knowledge. Instead of most people, I call it a power grab. We all clinging for power. Whatever tribe we a part of, we want to, boom, we set up our tent and we a part of this tribe and we know the best. Therefore, we try to persuade everybody, right? But you say you get this knowledge, but you still like not being dogmatic, not being fanatic in a religious, where you go back to doing the same thing you kind of detoxed and got yourself out of. You want to be more free and flexible, pliable, but you have your core values that works for you. But then there's also that different realms and layers of knowledge that you choose to juggle and to mess with. And out of that, your transition, you created dope curriculum and solutions. Out of your problem, you created solutions. And I get this pattern all the time with creators and thought leaders and people, amazing people like yourself, is that they question themselves to product or patents or innovations or business or finances. It always question themselves. Like, questions makes rooms for, it reveals problems, and problems sparks the world changers. It inspires us to create solutions. And I swear, you know what I mean? But your new knowledge, you didn't weaponize it. You didn't say, cool, everybody conform to this. This is what it works for everybody. This is how it is. I like that.
That's dangerous, bro.
Speak more to that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's so basically like the rap that people give religion. It's just another form of fanaticism, once again, which is like a rigid attachment to knowledge, and just like the ultimate conditional love. I can only love you and I can only rock with you if you believe and adhere to what I believe and adhere to. And so we see that not only in religion, but we see that in certain levels of lifestyles, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we see it in the political spectrum. We see it in even the way you eat. Like, with all due respect, certain people are like so vegan. If they see you wearing leather shoes, like, you're the devil. You know what I mean? And it's just like, that's your conviction.
See, that's another.
And I understand like the morality that you could attach to. I understand it, but like, anybody can be tyrannical with their beliefs if you just have this rigid attachment to your knowledge, and it basically it distorts your will and makes you serve the idea as opposed to just serving people and serving humanity. You got to serve this idea in this thought process. And so whether it be religion, like I said, whether it be politics, whether it be some type of economic structure, like whether it's communism or what are we in right now? We're not in, what's the opposite?
Socialism, communism,
socialism,
democracy,
communism,
republic.
Yeah, like being democratic. Yeah, all of that stuff. So it's like you can get so attached to it that you think everybody else is wrong, and you want everybody else to conform to your way. That just leads to tyranny. So when people say absolute power corrupts absolutely, that can happen to anybody in any, area of expertise or thought process.
Yeah, I agree, man. That's so. See,
capitalism.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Capitalism right now. Yeah.
Yep.
And I like how you said that, though, man. It's hard not to do that. It's hard not to persuade when you're excited and you get this new knowledge. It's very difficult not to do that when you first get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
especially coming from Christianity, because they tell you to go and win souls and make disciples. So you kind of take that in, and any knowledge that you get, you want to make disciples of whatever new knowledge you just got.
Absolutely. And you said that, on point. That was about to say is we've been conditioned, and it's a form of colonizing, right?
Yeah.
And that's like it's not just religion. It's like every time we trying to persuade, I'm no longer trying to persuade nobody. Every time we trying to persuade, and I talked about this, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous when we have I was a dangerous human when I was a full-blown Christian, because I knew without a doubt what life was before, during, and after life. I had that knowledge. I just knew for a fact, where we came from, how we supposed to live, financially, everything, and where we going. As a human, that is too much power. And the problem with that is that once we did that, you weaponize. Now it's time to tell people, since you know the best. You become a dangerous threat to humanity. And I think the biggest threat to humanity is another human ruling over another human, psychologically, physically, spiritually, all those things, persuading somebody. I like that. I like your approach. Did you start off like that, or was you just trying to convert cats and tell them your way is the way?
I was definitely a converter, because even when I left Christianity, I was trying to get cats to become Hebrew Israelite with me, because I dabbled in that for a little over a year, because I thought I had the answer. And once I realized that there was some holes in that, not to say it's not true, but it's like, once I realized like it just wasn't transferable. Like, it only worked for certain people, and everybody had to agree. Like, and you have to agree to some things that you don't necessarily have all the information for. You just kind of got to have faith that the scriptures are true. And it's just like, I was doing research and I realized there's some historical facts that can kind of like really turn the whole belief system on its head. And okay, the facts that I just came across, those could be true. What, my teacher was saying, his stuff could be true, but it was too much ambiguity. And I wasn't gonna just wholeheartedly serve with that much ambiguity and wholeheartedly try to recruit other people in when I have this huge gap of, well, this could not be true. This could be historically inaccurate. We just don't have enough information, to be honest. And so once
That's when your faith's supposed to kick in, though.
What you mean?
No, that's what.
Oh yeah,
that's when your faith is supposed to kick in. It's like we ain't got enough knowledge, and that's what we was told that. Hey, if the evidence ain't there, that's because that's when you take the leap. That's what God loves.
Yeah, and that's why I said the Bible has been distorted. They take that word faith. They don't understand what that, like, the foundation of that. If you read the Jewish Bible, they don't say faith. They say trust. Exactly. Everything ain't trustworthy, but modern Christianity uses faith as, if you don't know, just hope and pray and have faith that it's going to work out. But it's like, you don't put your trust in stuff that's not trustworthy. Like, you earn people's trust. Like, trust is earned. It's not given. You know what I mean? So
yeah, to make it something that you can fear, like it does says in the scripture that, man, what is it? Whatever is not of faith is sin.
Yeah.
So in Christianity, and our goal is to build up our faith. The more we build up our faith, the less our knowledge decrease and our reason decrease. And that's not just that's in a lot of religions. That's in, like you said, all the spheres, sects, I call them political. It's kind of cults. I kind of, if I would be 100.
Oh yeah.
And stuff like that.
But really though, like when they're saying, like, what do you say? Like, if you don't have anything without faith is a sin.
Yeah. Like,
right. So
yeah.
So essentially, the foundation of that is in, like, a lot of Kemetic teachings. And so that faith that the Bible is talking about, they're talking about in an external entity, as in God above. Yeah. But all of that comes from the Kemetic teachings, which is all talking about within. So talking about having faith in self. If you don't have faith in self, if you don't believe in your capabilities, then there's a disconnect between what you're trying to do, what you say you want to do, but what you really feel about yourself and how you can achieve said goal. And so, yeah, like, you're sinning against yourself if you don't believe in yourself. But the Bible text says, oh, you're sinning against God.
Absolutely.
Above, who's judging you, and you will get punished. No, that's not the way it was written. And that's not where that teaching came from. It came from the Kemetics, which everything that has been turned, like I said, with Christianity got turned upside down, and now it has us looking outside of ourselves when everything is within. God is within. And even Jesus told us that the kingdom is within you. You know what I mean? But yeah, we can go. We can go.
We go. I love this. You speaking this facts, and that's why I want my kids to hear this. I want people to hear this.
Word.
I want this because they hear it in our house. They hear stuff like that, and us questioning. But no, when you said the Kemetic teachings and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, you see Christianity, the layers of hijack, from the Greek mythology, but Greek then got it from Egyptian, but then all that type of stuff. So I'm looking at all that. So you saying within? It's funny because the journey from exiting as a minister, I'm no longer, inside. I wouldn't call myself inside of a community, a church, religious institution. But, after serving in a total of 14 years as a grown, but I found, like, detoxing myself from the religious and toxic stuff that made me dehumanizes myself, ideologies that self-dehumanization and others, the way I look at others and the way I look at myself as a human. I naturally came to the conclusion of the stuff Jesus, scripture, and spiritual stuff is talking about is really going back to ourselves and is within. and the consciousness is really talking. But then I started listening to the words of Jesus now sounds like, oh, I refer it not to an external institution, not to an external system or external divine heavenly. It's everything is within. And I think it's naturally, when we remove ourselves from those situations, naturally we go to that conclusions sometimes. And like I like how you broke that down, that faith of like, because, oh, no, you sinning against yourself. And sin is not like you sin, you just missing the mark. You trying to aim for that target, but you know what? You was a little off. Your intentions was good, you was cool, but your intentions, the Greeks understood it as more like, hey, you're lacking the knowledge. Once you come more enlightened, you can hit the mark a little better. Now they got that word sin got taken over to control, fear. Just like you can't poison the body to health, you can't fear the body to peace. So anything that is fear, anything that's dehumanizing to me is a ideology I cannot agree with. So I love how you talking about it goes back to itself and how the journey and stuff like that. You mentioned solutions. This whole journey, you got you very well read and study in the spiritual. Like you gotta, man, you gotta, yeah. People, y'all check this dude out. You know what I mean, for real, because you got 16 hours, right?
Yeah.
That's, because you talk about religion. That's why I brought it up. That's why I started off. Yeah, we met in church. Now I call myself like out of the four, and I don't condemn anybody. Whatever practice you do that serves you and that's healthy for you, that doesn't trap you, that dehumanize you, but it replenishes you, do it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's why we mess with each other, is because we kind of got that mentality. It's like, you know what I mean? And we both was dogmatic and wild with it, boy. We are soldiers. But how would you just like your solutions that you provide? Can you be more specific those solutions?
Yeah, so there's the course that I teach. I actually am taking a break from it as far as doing the individual or just the cohorts. I used to teach like on Wednesday evenings. It was intense, man. Like I went through 5 different cohorts in the past 2 years, teaching from 7 to 9.
Wow.
It's just, yeah. So now, oh yeah,
Dang,
it was just nonstop since September of 2020. Really right after that Jane Elliott interview, everything just kind of took off and just had a lot of attention. So I capitalized on it,
Absolutely.
And was able to launch my business. So now I just work with organizations. So I just break up my course into like smaller workshops for organizations. And so there's like the Know Your Enemy, Evolution of Racism workshop series. Also have an Overcoming Race-Based Trauma workshop series, which is the theme is like overcoming generational trauma and turning that into generational health and wellness. Man. So just strategies for that. And all of my trainings lead to my ultimate counter-racist strategy that I created, which is essentially the am I gonna give the remix name? No. So the Infinity Stones of Global Supremacy, right? And so I took the Infinity Stone model from the Marvel comic universe, and I took all those stones, so space, soul, mind, reality, time, and power, and I remixed them, and I took the 9 areas of people activity that kind of apply to all cultures around the world. So economics, education, entertainment, labor law, politics, religion, sex, and war, right? And then I repackage them in those 6 stones, and I teach folks about when it comes to overcoming racism, white supremacy, which is systematic prejudice, antagonism, and discrimination towards non-white people. How do we do that? And I give the story of what happened in the Marvel comic universe. We've seen what happened, I think it was Endgame. Thanos, he was getting those stones. Every stone he added to the gauntlet, he got more powerful. But when he had all the stones, he had all the power. And that's what so-called white supremacy is. It's absolute power to be able to snap your fingers and change things in an instant. We just seen that power with the Supreme Court. They snapped their fingers.
Just like that.
Your rights are gone. Fundamental shift of the country, whether you agree with it or not. It's a fundamental shift.
50.
And they can take that away, and they can take away all these other rights that have been granted. Like, it's gone. 9 people have supreme power to overturn laws that affect your everyday life and your children and society. And so when we talk about racism, white supremacy, it's the same thing. So how do we take back that power? Now, with the political system, we can't just eliminate the Supreme Court. But in our lives, we can take back those stones. And so on my ultimate counter-racist system, in that Infinity Stones of Global Supremacy, I show folks how we can take back those stones and basically reposition and redefine how we relate to every area and how we interact in every area of activity. And so if you understand the status quo and you understand why these systems are set up the way that they are, which is all about self-preservation for a global minority, then we have to understand we could be aiding and abetting the system if we go just based upon the way that it's designed. So you have to counter it, understand the design, and go against it. And all the activities that you engage in, make sure it serves you and your family and your people and your culture. Because if it's not, it's probably serving the ones in power, and you're making them more powerful while, as you would say, dehumanizing yourself in the process. So similar to, like, when I talk about the soul stone, that soul stone is essentially spirituality and religion. So like what you and I have done, we understand how the religions are set up. And like you said, you can engage in Christianity, but make sure it doesn't dehumanize you in the process. Make sure your God looks like you. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing.
Right? Because if your God looks like your oppressor, then you're giving power to them and you're denigrating yourself in the process simultaneously. Right? When it comes to the space stone, I liken that to space for me is family or close interpersonal relationships in those 9 areas of activity that will be sex, right? But like sex is, creating family, right? And so how is our family set up? Are we on the nuclear model where it's like we got this whole big family and everybody's split up and lives their own separate lives, and we don't do anything collectively as a family? Do we have anything to our name as a family? Do we have any plans? Do we come together like back in the day as tribes would come together? Or are we going to be separated and segregated? Because separation and segregation is a tool of white supremacy.
Period.
But now we've accepted separation and segregation within our own family. And it's not supposed to be that way. But that's the status quo that's been normalized. And so we just operate like that. And we got to understand, having broken families and having a dysfunctional family, it might be funny on a movie, but that shit is fucked up in real life. I know your kids gonna watch this. I just caught myself.
No, you good. No, my kids need to hear all this raw. They hear us cussing. So
yeah, okay, cool. I don't mean to throw that F-bombs, but it's just like in real life, like it's a problem. And, especially in America, when I talk to black folks, like, we got to understand that a lot of other groups around the world have gone extinct. And I don't put it past America and that, in 20, 30, 40 years that we could go extinct, not necessarily numerically, but economically, we can go extinct. And if you have no economic power, you have no political power. Yeah.
About that, yeah, I know. When you said that, I never heard it like that. And then when you said, like, not just numerically, but economically, that's powerful. Like, the 9 infinity stones, those 9 areas. Global supremacy has been, even talking about it, if we don't counter that, then we could be continuing the process. Aren't we supposed to be cycle breakers? Aren't we supposed to be world changers? Are we supposed to be rehumanizing people? Are we supposed to be people of power? That means we innovate, change things, we disrupt, but we can't do that if we don't take back, if we're not intentional. In order to counter something, you actually have to be intentional, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that is powerful, what you're talking about, and all the stuff and the knowledge and experience that you, and you keeping yourself as a student, really, like every time I talk to you, it's like you have your stuff even deeper. And it's not dogma. I'm not hearing dogma. I'm just hearing just study, knowledge, wisdom, and stuff like that. And you see the facts and the full effects. You also, you went to college too, didn't you?
Yeah. I went to Texas Southern University, historically black college in Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
Got my degree in marketing, and I'm actually going back to school.
Oh,
so
for real?
I'm going to get my MBA from Willamette. So I start in August. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go. Yeah.
I wanted to use that horn, you know what I mean? At least one time, but no, that's fire.
That was great timing.
So I love that you a student for real, and so you going getting your MBA. Yeah, I only see success. I only continue to see you climb up. I love seeing your journey. I love seeing you continue to progress and stuff like that. And I'm glad that you like in this space. I'm glad you in this universe. I'm glad you local. I'm glad I know you. Tell me, you kind of explained it a little bit, like. If I was about to say, if you describe how you started versus how you are now, like the Emmanuel that started, because you started your podcast in 2017 or 15, something like that. Yeah, 2017.
Yep.
And I remember you started it off with just like asking questions about religion, and I was your guest, and it was at this time it was straight up Obama Christian Obama I should call it.
Obama. Well,
man, I love Obama, but Obama's that I don't love but Obama's cool. He's that safe black dude. You know what I mean? Like he can be like. Also, too. No, look, you're looking at a person who was like a trauma survivor, religious trauma survivor, not just religion too as an adult, but white supremacy. I'm the youngest out of 5, and my survival technique, being surrounded mostly by whites out there, just naturally, is to code switch and to be like, okay, sometimes it's like, don't even know. But because we got brothers and because our family is black, go back into my home, we black. Step outside of my house, we ducking and making sure no trucks is coming by. You feel me?
That's a fact. Yep.
And experiencing the over-penalization of being the only black person in school in 5th grade, them, all this type of stuff. So what it did, survival made me, Christianity was an escape for the pain. Not Christianity, I say religion I used as to suppress the oppression that I felt. Even the internalized racism. When it came to our people hurting, I had a justification. When it came to pain, I had a justification using religion. So you asked me a question at this time, man, on your podcast, and you was like, I was a minister at a white church too, and it was just like I was one of those. I had the right answers. You feel me? He was like, can a white person be a Christian though, and still be racist? And I said, actually, yeah, they can, because the glory, I gave you the right answers. And it was like, It started off with just being open to religion, open to debate of religion. You was letting anybody from anywhere, no matter who you were, on your podcast to talk about deep issues.
Yeah.
And you've been doing this for years, and now you got curriculum, you got all of this stuff. Man, now you're going to, you went to school, now you're going back to school, and you just continue to expand your stuff. Yeah, that's dope. I don't know why I was saying all that, but
bro, that's funny. Like, I do not go back and listen to old episodes. Like, unless somebody specifically mentions something, or there's somebody like, "Hey, bro, you remember when you said?" I'm like, "No, I don't." Like, I've been having these 90-minute, 2-hour conversations every week for the 3-4 years straight. Now I don't remember what I said, but I remember that thought process though. Can a white person be a Christian and racist at the same time? And in my mind, ideally, to the letter of the law, no. Right? Like, that was my answer. I already knew my answer. I just want to see what other people would say. But no, you can't serve God and hate people at the same time.
Yep. I agree.
Like, you can't serve God and you can't love God and hate your brother. Even the scriptures say that.
Yeah, the scriptures constantly say that.
Yeah, so it's like, you really are not like a lot of people say they Christians, they not Christians, right? A lot of people are cultural Christians, like they go through all the pomp and circumstance of church, and they show up, they pay their tithes, they serve, but a lot of people don't believe it. Like a lot of people don't even read the Bible. Let's be honest.
Like, let's keep it real. I like how you just saying it so plain and simple, because that's the conclusion. I realized, man, I used to preach, teach, be there, dragging my kids and leadership meetings, and I can just say that's 100%. The biggest thing is 90. Most people ain't reading their Bible. That's why I thought I was super fly fresh, because I was just in that word, and it made just puffed up my head. And but for real.
But you was a real Christian. Like we were real Christians.
I was.
No, like, and that's the thing. That's the difference. Like when you a real Christian, and then you be surrounded by cultural Christians, and then you realize it's only a few people. Like you start talking scripture, it's only a few people that's on your level. Then you naturally feel like a little puffed up, because it's like, yeah, I'm a real one though. Like. Yeah. And it's rare. Like real is rare for real. It's not just a saying. Like real is rare, especially when it comes to Christianity. And so it's just like, yeah, bro. Like a lot of these people out here faking. They playing. They showing up. They doing the things. They just trying to get to heaven. They said the prayer,
man,
but they don't do.
They motivated by fear, and I realized that as I was deconstructing, I was like, okay, most of my things in life, whether I don't fulfill my potential, whether I don't do exactly what God called me to do. Is this the flesh or is this the spirit? Is this my will or is this God's will? And I start thinking, because everything was external, to relate to everything, my significance, my spiritual relationship, my identity was all external. And I think that's, you know where it came from, but everything went external, and it all that. Then once I went internal, I started saying, oh, snap. The only reason why I was hardcore, it looked like I was convicted, but I was motivated, and I was convicted, but the majority of my conviction was fear. And I come to conclude anything that motivates you out of fear, it might save your life. It might extend your health. You know what I mean? Some people didn't smoke weed because they knew their uncle was a crackhead and they didn't want to, you know what I mean? All that type of stuff. Right. It was like concern and fear. But at one point, we got to move ourselves from our motivation being fear-based to being understanding-based, being value-based. Like, I understand my value. I understand the situation. Now I'm going to make the decision, versus we've been taught through religion to make decisions based on fear. And I think that's what everybody is serving. And I can see the fakeness. I'm like, because if we truly believe that a man died and rose again, and the spirit of the creator of the universe is inside of us, and we can still hate another group. We can still be political. We can still be like us versus them. We got the truth. Lack forgiveness, killing, destroying, justifying rape and murder. Like, it's bullshit. All that shit is bullshit. And I realized that. And I was like, man, this is some wax. And that's why we vibe on the level of like freedom. I feel free. But and at first, when your journey, I was like, oh, this dude's questioning stuff. You was my enemy because you made the jump before me. Far as your journey, you wasn't my enemy. I never looked at you like that.
No, but I was for real though. That's how it is. When you're,
I was like, oh, he's struggling.
Like I said, that rigid attachment to knowledge is like, oh yeah, he's the ops. Like anybody that goes against the gang is the ops.
That's so whack.
Yeah,
that's so whack. But what any advice you would give somebody, like, any wisdom out there you would give? You know what I mean?
Man.
Like, I know that just came out of nowhere, but like right now, currently, what we in right now, we got the recession coming up. I mean, I guess we in, you know, it's a lot. I mean, the Supreme Court did what it did. Like it's just one thing after another. What are you doing? What is your advice and your, you know, what do you work? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, especially at a time like this when they just overturned Roe v. Wade and more is on the way. Because what they're doing is,
that's what I feel, and that's
Ketanji Brown Jackson. She's not making decisions. Like, she got sworn in, but she's not active. So
that's why I didn't really pay attention, man. That shit.
Yeah, I was literally reading it this morning because I was trying to figure out. I was talking to my wife about it last night, and I was like, "What do you think about this?" Because it seems like a movie. It doesn't seem real, but it's really happening.
It's really happening. Like,
it's really happening, bro. So I'm like, okay, so what about the black lady that they just sworn in, but she isn't active? So until she gets active, it looks like they're going to pass all this stuff, you know, before she gets on, and makes it hard for them to pass it. So to answer your question, bro, what am I doing right now, and what is my advice? Right now, bro, I'm doing more of the same. Like, I have certain plans that I've made with my family, my immediate family, and, you know, like within my household, and a certain financial plan that I have set up with my parents and both my sisters. So we're just going to continue to stick to the plan of investing and traveling together and just building that bond with the family.
That family unit, that's the strength and core of our future and our I'm glad you're speaking on that.
Just controlling what I can control, because all of this other stuff is outside of our control. Like, not to say that we're not supposed to fight against it or whatever, but like, let's be honest. You had 9 people, just like I said, like I already said it earlier, like it just changed everything. So a lot of stuff is out of our control. So you got to control what you can control. And for me, it's easy for me to say because I'm not a woman, so it doesn't affect me as much, right?
But you're talking about general, right?
Yeah, the Roe versus Wade stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure there's going to be something that's going to affect black people or something, right? Like it's you know. And I'll probably feel more strongly about it. But at the end of the day, I teach what I teach for times like this. We should never be in a reactive state. We should always be proactive. We should live a life of counteracting the systems, the patterns of thought, speech, and action, emotional response, and symbol formation of racism, white supremacy. So, you know, when they make changes like this and they're essentially trying to roll back the clock on the country and the world, we got to understand that this is from their perspective, from the white supremacists. I'm talking about like the top 1% and the 0.05%. Like, this is what they do. They've done this forever. We just had a small window where it was kind of lax, but this is what they do. The whole system of racism, white supremacy is self-preservation for the elite. And there's a certain type of elite. There's different personalities within the elite, but the personality that's coming out right now is the Wreck-It Ralph type that just wants to smash everything and doesn't care about, like, they see red or they see bright white and they just want to smash everything. And they don't care about who gets, you know, killed or whose life gets messed up and who's mad at them. They don't care. And so that's how white supremacy works. And even if you're white, you got to understand that white supremacy wasn't designed for you. It was designed for them. They just allow you to have privilege within the system so that they can, because you're gas for the engine, for lack of a better term. Like, You help them
Yeah.
continue it.
Yeah.
You allow yourselves to be used. Right. So, but they don't care about you. And that's what I hope everybody realizes. Like, these politicians, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Kamala Harris.
Say it.
No, I don't care who it is. Obama. They don't care about you. They care about themselves, their families, and their relationships, and the corporations who are in their pocket funding their campaigns and allowing them to live the lives that they live.
Wow.
All right? Because nothing is working the way that it was, quote unquote, designed, or the way that is explained to us. Everything is working to their benefit, always has and always will. So until you rebel against that and live a life that is counterintuitive to their status quo, then we're gonna be constantly tossed to and fro. Not to get biblical, but we're gonna be tossed to and fro, right? And you're gonna be reactive and always responding to some stuff that this is a great possibility that it could happen, and it's going to continue to happen. It's gonna get worse. This is the last thing, because I do gotta go, because I got a meeting in 10 minutes.
No, you good.
But I was watching a documentary on Allen Iverson, and it was at the point where he had went to jail for some stuff that he was.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah, and like he was having a hard time, and his lawyer was saying one thing, but stuff wasn't working out. And then he said, somebody else, another inmate, came up to him. He was like, "Look, man, you ain't getting out. All right? So just stop thinking about what they told you. You just got to take the mindset of you ain't getting out." And even though Allen didn't necessarily give up hope, he said it made it easier for him to live day to day while in bondage, knowing that he wasn't going to get out based upon how much he worries about it. Right? And so I say all that not to give up on, I want us to give up on the hope of being totally free and not under the rule of the thumb of the Supreme. But once again, Supreme Court ain't going nowhere. The political system ain't going nowhere unless it collapses on itself. But essentially, racism ain't going to end. It's never going to stop. Ever.
Period.
So don't just wait on people to do the right thing. You got to get active.
And I like
so in Allen's position, he had to sit and wait for stuff because he was like in total dislocation and in like a total confinement. But we're not dislocated from where we want to be, not most of us, and we're not confined as if we can't make decisions to strategically put ourselves in better situations. So control what you can control and understand that the system is not going to take care of you. If it does, that's a bonus. But don't rely on the system. Rely on yourself, rely on your family, rely on your community. Build community. Build stronger relationships. Because they're going to defund the police. And guess what? You're going to have to take care of yourself. They're going to defund Social Security. And guess what? You're going to have to take care of yourself. 401k, it might go away. You got to take care of yourself.
I like
that.
that.
Control what you can control, love on your people, build community, and create strategies to just influence those around you and have a better life. How you determine it.
I like that. And that should give us peace, to be honest with you, because the friction is not accepting. And the things I heard is accept your reality, get together with your family, and get your power back. Meaning self-empower. Get your 9 rings back. We only can control our universe. And I like that. How can people find you?
Yes, sir. Check out my website, emmanuelwilliams.co. And you can reach out and book me for keynotes, for workshops, for your organization, whatever the case might be. You can follow me on Twitter at SXSNDLS. Subscribe to the podcast, Sox and Sandals Podcast, on all podcast streaming platforms. And my personal, or you can on Instagram, Sox and Sandals Podcast.
Yes, and I have all those links and everything and all that information. I appreciate you for this beautiful conversation, my brother, and blessings, man. Appreciate this.
Man, I appreciate you, bro. This was dope, as always.